It is no secret that after university, a lot of us wish to start our own businesses. Christina and Alex, the head of our speakers team here at YHS, thought it was best to address this dream with a perspective of successful startups that are all in different stages of growth. As we all know, for every successful startup, there is a multitude of failures. In the best scenario, timing, perseverance, luck, and 10 years of trying, it will seem like an overnight success. But always remember, there is beauty in the struggle. It is easy to forget that the job of an entrepreneur is often nasty and brutish. Startups struggle to scale up their businesses amidst drying funds, survival in volatile markets, and overcome fierce competition. But this all started with an idea on a whiteboard. To end the third day on a beautiful note, we have a panel ready for you that is named the NextGen Startup. And we would like to introduce our panelists. Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Hello. We would like to introduce each one of you. So Anastasia Hofmann, you're up first. Hello, if you could wait for us.
Hi, guys.
Hello. Ms. Anastasia Hofmann is co-founder and CEO of Ketro, focuses on food waste management in the hospitality industry. She is also an EHL alumni and passionate about the development and implementation of sustainable practices.
All right, up next, we have Nico Barawid. Can you wave for us? Hello. He is the co-founder and CEO of Kasai, which is a Mexico City-based building, which is building an innovative hospitality concept, which is based on merging the best in technology, travel, and lifestyle. He began his career with the Boston Consulting Group and has earned a bachelor in economics from Yale University and a master in public policy from the University of Oxford.
After that, we have Mr. Rafael Museri. If you could wave to us. Hello. He is the CEO and co-founder of Selena, a nomadic lifestyle brand that accommodates the needs for a new generation of travelers and digital nomads. Selena has expanded to 120 different properties over 20 countries as one of the world's fastest growing hospitality brands, blending in beautiful designed accommodation with co-working, recreation, wellness, and local experience.
And then Mr. Chip Conley. Hello.
Hello.
He's the strategic advisor for hospitality for Airbnb and the leadership founder for the Modern Elder Academy. He's a New York Times best-selling author and the founder of Modern Elder Academy, where a new roadmap for midlife is offered at a beautiful oceanfront campus in Baja California Sur, Mexico.
And as the moderator of this lovely panel, we would like to bring back to the YHS stage Dr. Demian Hodari, an associate professor here at the École Hôtelière de Lausanne. Hello, Mr. Hodari.
Hi, guys.
Hello, please take it away.
All right, thanks very much. Just for the audience to know, we've got about a 40-minute discussion. I could easily have that discussion with each one of these individuals. We're going to try to pack all their wisdom into that 40 minutes, and then we'll take your questions for the last 10 minutes. And I'm going to jump into things with an introductory question that I want each of you to answer. And I'll start with Nico. Tell me 3 facts about yourself that helps us understand your view of entrepreneurialism.
The first and foremost is that I love hosting people. Even before I started Kasai, I would always have people over for dinner, and that really, drove my interest in hospitality. The second is that I think I'm a natural storyteller, and this is huge for us as we court investors, as we court really talented people, as I kind of convince our executives about my strategy. And the third is that the hustle, and I think this is something that we all share as entrepreneurs, is something that is not scary, but is really invigorating. And I think for people that are looking to start a company, in the intro, they said that the entrepreneurial journey is nasty and brutish. And that's totally true. And for people that are going to be successful entrepreneurs, I think that has to be exciting and not daunting.
Thanks very much. Rafael, tough to go second, but give me 3 facts.
So I think that I'm very, very much, I'm an adventurist. I like to travel, and, I crossed many, many countries by bicycle when I was younger. So I think that being out there and off the grid spaces is my number one thing. Number 2, I'm very much a right brain person. So I appreciate the energy and impact of people into spaces. So it's all about people. And number three, although I'm a very right brain and kind of the holistic side of me, I'm very much mission driven. I'm very, very motivated to complete tasks that I challenge myself and my teams.
Great, thanks so much. Anastasia.
So from my side, I think I really enjoy being out of my comfort zone. It makes life interesting. I like working on different tasks at the same time. So multitasking, even though it's said you shouldn't really be doing it, it actually is something I really enjoy. And as a last point, I guess I really love working in a small team that is full of friends. Actually, you can hire your own friends in your startup. So that is one big part that I think is important in the entrepreneurial journey, and that this team also pursues the same vision or shared vision.
Thanks. And Chip, slightly different. Joie de Vivre, Airbnb, Modern Elder Academy. What's the commonality across the three that inspired you to be involved with these three ideas?
I'm a surfer wannabe. I live on a beach. I live on a surf break, and I'm not very good. But I've been learning. I'm 60, and I started learning to surf at age 57. My surfing around trends or seeing what's coming next has been something I've been I don't know. I've had a knack for that since I was a teenager. And so when I was a young kid, I used to write my parents and said, "Here's a trend. It's going to happen in the next 2 or 3 years," and that would happen. And so whether it was boutique hotels or home sharing, or now the idea of midlife wisdom schools, I guess it's just surfing a trend.
Perfect. All right, so we got
spotting a trend and then surfing it.
Perfect. So, for our audience, this gives you an idea of the perspective that each of these individuals has and how they're approaching the following questions. I'm going to start with this concept creation phase, right? So, Nico, I'm going to go back to you first again. Tell me about the moment. I'm assuming there was a moment, right? All entrepreneurs say they had this epiphany where you saw the link that you wanted to establish between unique pieces of real estate and this tech-forward approach to managing them.
I mean, you're picking on me. It's fine. I'll go first. For me, I think it was less a specific moment and more a combination of experiences that led me as a consumer to want the product that I'm building. And I think that that's the most important thing for people that, as Rafa said, like really are going to be mission driven and like survive this nasty and brutish journey. And so, I spent a lot of time traveling. First as a management consultant, like they mentioned in the intro. And then most recently, before I started Kasai, I was working at a seed stage and Series A stage company. And so didn't have the fancy budgets that I had at BCG. And yet, as a business traveler staying at Airbnbs, I still had the same kind of demands that I did when I was staying at the, Ritz-Carlton or St. Regis. And so I thought as a consumer, if I could create a hospitality concept from scratch, how would I do it? And it wouldn't look like hotels and it wouldn't look like Airbnbs. Sorry, Chip. But really a merger of the both. And so when I realized that there was a huge white space specifically in Latin America for this, that got me really excited about the company that now became Kasai.
Thanks very much. Anastasia, I never had you in class, which is probably the reason you're so successful. What I'd like to know is, how did your education shape your confidence and your approach to starting your own business pretty much right out of school?
Yeah, I think co-founder Naomi and myself, we actually met at EHL, and we didn't start there because we wanted to found a tech company afterwards. I don't think that was the plan. But it was really the idea. We had it in the last year of EHL, and it was actually a campus or like a non-campus competition that we participated in and kind of got this first idea of food waste management. And I think the whole idea itself we got really excited about it because we worked in the industry through the school experience. We did these internships in kitchen and service and were exposed to food waste from the hospitality side of things. And that's what then at the end of the day led us to founding this company. So it was really the combination of the internships that we got through EHL, through the education there, and then also the confidence because we won this challenge at EHL and had also one of the professors at EHL encouraging us to kind of think further and pursue the idea.
Perfect. Rafael, your background was not in the hospitality business at all. Why start a business in the hospitality? Why come into this crazy world of ours?
So I think that I'm always, when I'm experiencing product, I'm trying to think if I was designing that product, what it looks like or what I'm missing. And when I was traveling the world and I was kind of being a host, being a client in many different styles of hospitality, from hostels to glampings to hotels, I just realized that there is something that I'm missing. I really want to make a friend. I really want to socialize. And there are just few places that deliver this excellent social experience by nature. And I asked myself, wow, if that was global and if it was possible to scale it, it's incredible. But just to answer your questions, I think that there is more advantages in innovating anything being not from the industry, because if you're from the industry, the chance that you're going to innovate it, in my opinion, is lower than if you're not from the industry. You just need to think as a client and test things and use data.
Okay, great. So Chip, we've got a food waste company. We've got shared accommodation. We have these retreats or accommodations for the digital nomad. 3 concepts that really speak to the YHS audience. But you've come up with the Midlife Wisdom Academy approach, which obviously is not speaking to them. But I think the process you went through to decide to do this is inspiring. So maybe you can share a little bit about the need that you saw and how you attacked it.
Sure. So I sold my boutique hotel company after having run it for 24 years. Joie de Vivre, created 52 boutique hotels around California. And I got tapped on the shoulder by the 3 founders of Airbnb. Brian, the CEO, wanted me to be his in-house mentor. I became the head of global hospitality and strategy. And about a month after I was there, and I was sort of running a lot of the pieces of the business. And really, most importantly, for 8 years now, mentoring Brian to be a great leader and hopefully a great CEO. So about a month into it, someone said to me, it was Joe Gebbia, one of the other co-founders, Chip, you're our modern elder. And I said, I don't want to be your modern elder. What? That sounds bad. He said, no, you're as curious as you are wise. And over the course of that next 4 years of being full-time and going around the world, being one of the chief ambassadors of Airbnb, I came to realize that there was something good about being a modern elder, but we don't have much in the way of schools, tools, rituals, or opportunities for people to imagine how to repurpose themselves in midlife. So that's why I decided to create the Modern Elder Academy here in Mexico. And we've now bought a 2,600-acre ranch just outside of Santa Fe, New Mexico. So we're in Mexico and New Mexico. And it's we intend to basically disrupt the senior living industry in an enormous way, because it's an enormous business that is ready to be disrupted. And it's not just disrupting that, it's also disrupting education. And my dog is disrupting me. This is Jamie. Sorry, I'm in bed with my dog.
Look, I think the idea of disrupting is a really powerful concept for us to pursue. Let me move into sort of step 2 of this startup process, right? Market identification, target market. Every student who's ever taken a marketing class has heard these terms. Let me go to Rafael. It's a very unique concept that you have, and you're really keying in on this idea that this generation, they want to travel, but they want to work in different places, and they want to jump from one place as soon as they're bored, move to another one. Pretty radical idea. How could you have the confidence that this market existed, and what makes you think that this has long-term potential?
So I ask myself, I look at few data points. One of them is, what percentage of generation Y and Z are actually happy and excited? How many of them lonely or depressed, and why it's happening? The percentage are high. You're over 40% either struggling with loneliness or depression. That's one piece of data, which is huge. And the only way to solve loneliness is to increase the chance of people socializing. Simple as that. And the second piece of data is that about 16, 17 million hotel rooms around the world, I count how many of them really relevant for those people that need to socialize. It's about 3%. And then I ask myself what percentage they represent of the consumption of hospitality. That's close to 40%. All right. There is a white space, we call it. That's basically the gap between supply and demand. And when you realize that there is a big mismatch, that's where you want to start thinking how I can get into this white space and start operating. And so I think macro data, it's extremely important, especially if you're kind of a big mission driven, like you want to think big, you want a business that you can scale. So the macro, it's extremely important. People sometimes going straight to micro. And then you test it. You do the first one, you make a play, stay, work ecosystem. You ask yourself, I'm going to extend the average stay. They're going to play, they're really going to socialize, and they're going to work. Okay, it's working well. I'm going to test it in another culture, in another environment. And then it works once, it works twice, it works 3 times. You said, okay, great. It can be a global business. So that's kind of the way I look at it.
All right. Anastasia, similar question, but obviously, you're not going after the traveling public. You are trying to get food providers, restaurants, caterers, et cetera, to buy into your system to reduce their food waste. So how do you figure out, as such a small, young company with a relatively radical idea, right, and process, how do you identify the right restaurants or businesses to target with your service?
Yeah, I think initially it really started by talking to them. That was the most important. So you have an idea and then you just go out and validate that idea by talking to the people you think could be your customers and seeing if they even would want to pay money for such a service or product. And so that's what we did. We kind of used the network from EHL, reached out to friends and got appointments with different restaurant chains or hotel groups and so on, and talked to them and found out who said yes and who didn't want to try it. And so that was kind of the initial approach to things. And now, of course, we are a bit further ahead and we know how to qualify the customers, what qualifies them, what doesn't, and kind of go a bit of a different approach, but the network is still quite important.
Give me an idea what you mean there about what qualifying the market. How do you now, give us an example of your ideal client.
Yeah, so ideal clients are not like the smaller restaurants. It's really bigger canteen groups, canteen operators, also luxury hotel groups or boutique hotels even. But these are really the customers we've seen that have a massive potential to save money. Boutique hotels a bit less, but hotel brands and groups basically. So bigger customers that have more than 100 seats, more than $500,000 in food cost. That's not a lot in Switzerland at least, but that means they're qualified and that they could see a high ROI and high reductions as well.
Okay, perfect. Let me move on to step 3 that we're looking at. You've got this concept, you've tested it out, you have this strong idea, maybe you've got a prototype, you need to raise money. So let me start with Nico. You guys are really going at regional financing, right? In terms of wanting to expand. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, actually, the cap table construction is something that I have been very, very careful about. So as I mentioned, before I moved to Mexico City, I was living in Silicon Valley for 5 years. And so all of my network was actually with Silicon Valley. But when I was starting, because I had just moved to Mexico, for me, it was very important to get local investors for the seed round. And so my seed round was led by the 2 largest local venture investors, early stage, Monash Capital and Kasek Ventures. And so as we grew relatively quickly, then it was important to augment their local market expertise with the core Sand Hill Road kind of global growth. And so we had our Series A that was led by Andreessen Horowitz. And all told, so we've raised about $50 million. our investors are very much split into two camps, which provides a very interesting dynamic at our board meetings, where you have the people that really know Latin America and then the people that don't know Latin America at all, but know how to push me to grow. And that's been a very valuable dynamic for us.
Great. And Rafael, a slightly different question. You guys are dependent more and more on this asset-light model, right? And having people develop the property for you. And then I think you guys are generally pretty open to signing leases with them. So are you able to get real estate investors to invest in your company with this lease idea going forward now, given the results of the pandemic? And it's pretty difficult for a lot of leaseholders.
Yeah, so I think that at the end of the day, real estate investors, they want to be sure that they're investing in relevant brands, right? So there is a lot of traditional commercial real estate that used to do great about 50 years ago, and today it's less relevant. So real estate investors always looking for the next relevant trend that they want those operators either to be part of their assets. So if they convince that you're relevant, they're going to either buy for you the asset and lease to you, or they're going to even feel comfortable to invest in the conversion of a lease deal. The most important thing that they're going to look is to be sure that the trend is the right trend and you're there to stay. Even if your balance sheet, because you're a startup, is less impressive than the big hospitality brands, but actually, if you're a content programming experience-driven brand, although your balance sheet is less impressive in the first few years, you're actually much more relevant, and the chance of you staying for 20 years, paying rent on time, is higher. So you need to find those investors and real estate players that understand and appreciate the value of the new concepts, but at the same times, like the commercial real estate. So I think there are many of them out there.
And Anastasia, a quick answer to the following question. You guys have done a couple of different things, including this accelerator Kickstarter, I think. Tell me what you learned by doing that you were able to then take with you as you continued your efforts to raise funds.
There's actually a lot of acceleration programs out there, and Kickstarter is the one based in Zurich, which supports you financially. They give you a grant, but also have this concept of masterclasses. So it was actually really valuable for us because we came out of university and we didn't have a lot of entrepreneurial classes during EHL. So it was really cool to go to these classes, network as well, build up a community. They connect you also with different brands. Let's say that if you're in the food vertical, they connect you to Coop restaurants here in Switzerland. And so that was extremely helpful to just also learn about fundraising, about these different strategies, but also be exposed to this network that then helps you to continue growing your business.
Okay, and it did help you in your future endeavors to raise funds, what you learned from this?
Yeah, for sure.
Perfect. All right, I'm going to jump forward now to step 4, right? Overcoming challenges, right? We had this in our introduction, and you're all smiling because you've all had challenges. Chip, you have the biggest smile, so I'm going to start with you. Pick one of the 3 companies you've been involved with that we've talked about, and give me a really specific pre-pandemic, please, challenge that shook you and that really you needed to overcome and that has made you stronger and smarter as an entrepreneur.
Okay. I'll use MEA because actually MEA is Modern Elder Academy because Airbnb's last year has been well chronicled in the media. But I'm open to questions later about Airbnb on this same topic. So Modern Elder Academy, just as a program based here on a beachfront in Mexico, 5-acre campus. We do week-long workshops. They're very expensive. They're $5,500 for a week for a single, $8,000 double, all inclusive. And they help people average age 54 try to understand what's next for them. Well, a year ago, when COVID became, the pandemic was announced, I guess it was a year ago and 2 weeks ago, we had to shut down. So here we have a big operation here that's been very successful in its 3 years. And there's no way you can operate a very intimate workshop with 20 people all, being together in each other's faces for a week. So the 3 major shifts we did, and I will just start by saying it's all about resilience, but it's not just about resilience alone. Resilience alone means you're just gripping. It's resilience to give you the life preserver to find the adaptable path. So resilience is first, adaptability is second. And so our three things we did to adapt was, number one is we created an MEA online program that's been extremely successful. It has people from 30 different countries in it so far. Secondly, we created something called sabbatical sessions, where we took our campus, which is a beautiful campus, and we just said, hey, we're going to have lighter programming. We're not having weekly cohorts. Come stay for a month. It's sort of the Selena model a little bit. Come stay for a month. And, we have great precautions, COVID precautions, and you get a little bit of programming and you get your 3 meals a day. And it's just a beautiful, almost vacation or digital nomad experience. So that's the second thing we did. And then the third thing we did in adaptability is we said, okay, this is the perfect time for us to go to the US, because we were planning on creating a series of MEA regenerative communities, not retirement communities, but regenerative communities in the United States. So we said, this is a perfect time to buy. So we bought this New Mexico ranch, but we're about to buy another property, which I can't talk about yet because it's not public to talk about it yet, but we're buying things affordably because that's what you can do during COVID. And so it's allowed us to expand into the United States.
Yeah, I think I read you bought the New Mexico property for half of what it had been sold for just a few years ago. So well done on that.
Thank you.
Anastasia, same question, pre-pandemic, if you can, early stages of your business, was there a crisis? Was there a challenge that you said, I don't know how we're going to overcome this, and that you did, and what did you learn from that?
I think from our perspective, we first recognized that COVID was a bigger thing was when our scales didn't deliver because they were produced in Wuhan. And so we got like a notice from them in February last year that they're not going to come anytime soon. And then we realized, actually we had such great plans and growth plans for 2020. And it made us really like rethink them. And initially it was a shock. And also for the industry, for our customers, everyone had to pause their contracts. And then we realized it was really a blessing in disguise because we were forced to re-strategize, rethink our expansion, our growth, the foundation of the growth as well, and the business and the team behind it, and came to a lot of like realizations that, and also, I think new insights that we then changed and adapted to make it fit the growth of the company and how we see it continuing forward. And so in that sense, COVID, there was not really a big challenge before. I think we had just really big plans and COVID stopped it completely from one day to the next. And then now we have a better foundation for growth now after this year of kind of smaller, a timeout or so.
Okay, great. Rafael, slightly different question. Give me an example of a mistake that you or Selena made, again, pre-pandemic if possible, that you learned something from, and how did you fix that mistake?
I think that like there is this very important stage in every startup when you should start scaling your product, right? How many times you need to test the product, to which level you want to bring the product before you start scaling it. Now, if your product is experiential product, then every time that you test it, it's a bit different. It's not like a standardized one. It's not a Starbucks or McDonald's that, go scale it. So I think that maybe the mistake is for me to start a scale before perfecting it. But on the other side, I can say that the amount of learnings you have when you scale something fast, it's allow you to fix the product in a better way. So I still say that we were maybe a little bit too aggressive in the beginning. And if you're a bit more patient in the first 2 years, maybe today, when we're 6 years old, we could be bigger, maybe with even a slight better unit economics. So that's, I think it's an important things to learn.
Thanks. Nico, tough question. Leases. Given now, right, obviously leases are great in good times. In bad times, you have this obligation to the owner to pay this lease. You had very little business, I'm assuming, over the last year. I'm assuming you want to get out of leases towards management contract. Was leases a mistake? And would you have done things differently now if you had known, obviously, what the last year was going to be like?
Leases were not a mistake. I think, as you mentioned, leases are great when times are good. And so the burden of proof for a lease is way higher than for a management contract. So specifically, as like we do a ton of data analysis around like what ADR can we charge in a particular area, like what RevPAR do we think we can get, and if we have a very high degree of conviction that something is going to happen with very little variability, then we'll do a lease, right? So what that means for us is we're willing to do leases on kind of tier one streets. So to use a Parisian example, like the Champs-Élysées of Mexico City. And so in that sense, I think that leases will always be part of how we grow on our supply side. And indeed, we aim on our supply side to be a partner to our asset owners, however they want to monetize, whether that's fixed income, whether that's property management, whatever. But I would say that I actually began thinking about non-lease options, so property management contracts, actually post WeWork. After the WeWork IPO just like went, south, I was like, okay, well, I can see this coming with, with a lot of clarity 5 years before. And so fortuitously for us, we had begun changing our mix away from leases several months before COVID.
Great. Thanks so much. Let's go to step 5, enabling growth. I have the same question for all of you. You've each got 1 minute to answer. And no, Nico, I'm not going to make you go first. You're all 4 very innovative companies, right? Modern Elder, Kitro, Selena, and Kasai. Tell me something you think other firms, startups, or established players have spotted that you're doing that they're going to try to steal, copy, emulate, or take their own spin on it. Chip.
We're already seeing it, quite frankly. I think it's all about community. So I have a lot. I have a lot of admiration for what Rafael's doing. It is all about community, and we have a community of 1,200 alums from 30 countries now, and we have 23 regional chapters. We have people who get together and do reunions. I think the more you can invest in community and gathering, which seems so antithetical to these times, the more you actually understand what it takes, what's the magic that creates that social chemistry, and how are you a mixologist of people? And I think that is probably what people will take from what we're doing, because they see the level of evangelism of the people who go through the program.
Okay, great. Rafael, same question. You can't answer community.
Sorry.
Wow. Yeah. I think that the fact, I will say that Generation Y and Z, they're beat. I used to say since 2014 that they have a hate-love relationship with the generic brands. People like something special. Selena, we put ourselves more as a platform that is not standardizing the product. We're standardizing the process that leads to a unique product. And I see more and more companies right now understanding the fact that when you standardize it too much, it's losing its brand equity. You need to think very well what important in order to create consistency that people that always meet in a brand, but what are the areas that you have to surprise them in each place? And I see more and more companies right now going towards brand that is very different all around the world. And I think that that's the one thing that Selena is doing from the very beginning. There's no one Selena similar to another Selena. You're going to see the same linens. You're going to have 2 pillows. You're going to have this type of duvet. You can have always great music, but it can be 20 BPM, that can be 120 BPM, that can be music from the 50s in Colombia, and that can be an incredible Moroccan playlist, right? But that's what I feel today that more and more brands trying to create.
Great answer. Nico, same thing.
I like to say, and I'm not sure if this is true, I should validate this, that we're one of the only hospitality companies in the world that has a pretty substantial in-house R&D hardware team. And we started thinking about smart in-house technology before the pandemic. And then it became all the more important, keyless check-in, smart connective devices inside the apartment. It became all the more important as a result of the pandemic. And actually, I was going to mention when I think about how much of my payroll I devote to engineering, I think more about what does Google, Facebook, even Airbnb do, and not at all like what does Marriott or Hilton do. And I think more and more brands are going to start realizing that that hardware is R&D piece is so important to the guest experience, especially in a world where no one wants to touch anything. And I think that that's going to become paramount in the industry.
Great. Okay, Anastasia, you have a huge potential industry at your disposal, right? That there's probably plenty of restaurants out there that need your type of service, not just for you, for competitors. But are you seeing an uptick in people providing the same thing as you? And what's that feel like?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a clear opportunity, and so you're not going to be the only one that sees that. When we started, there was really no automated food waste measurement device, let's put it like this, and we use image processing and machine learning technology to really identify what has been thrown away, to make it really easy for customers to know what ended up in their bins. And so this AI technology, we were really at the time when we started thinking about the idea, was 2016. That's when image processing became really made a huge advancement in the whole R&D section. And that's when it even became possible to do this with this technology at the end of the day. So that's why no one else before that has been looking into it, because it was just not possible. And now 2 years later, we've done a lot of R&D, and I like to say that we're still quite advanced with what we have. We also got quite a lot of support from the Swiss government on our R&D activities. But we do see, of course, that there are smaller competitors that are looking into it and are trying to do something similar, also automating their processes in one way or the other. But so far, I think we have quite an advantage in terms of the technology and what we've developed so far.
Great. All right, we've got a couple of minutes before I want to get to the audience questions. But in fact, there is an audience question that we can use for this last stage, which was eyes on the future. And I think everybody's curious how this pandemic is going to shape our industry and specifically your businesses. We've heard a lot about people are going to be working from home. They're not going to be traveling as much, or they'll travel more for leisure, maybe less for business. Let's stay away from that. That's been talked about to death and still no clear answer. Give me a very specific, different way you think your business is going to have to evolve as a result of this pandemic. What's something that you've really learned and said, here's this thing, we would never have done this. And maybe we don't really want to, but we have to as a result of this. And I'm just going to pick on Rafael to start.
Cool. So first of all, 2014, we did the first seed fundraising. We did a small deck showing that we're building the global home for remote workers and digital nomads. There's about 150 million of them now, new. That's an additional interesting 40 to 50 billion nights that they're going to consume. So for me, the pandemic increased the amount of remote workers, digital nomads dramatically. And our supply depends on distressed hotels. Selena convert in 60 to 90 days, non-relevant distressed hotel to extremely relevant through upcycling, recycling, and experiential process. So our supply is 10x bigger and cheaper. Our demand is bigger and more relevant than ever. So that's the biggest things that happened to us as a result of the pandemic. What we are changing today, what the biggest things that we're doing, we realize that there is a massive opportunity to disrupt hospitality completely and to shift hotel ADR and rent per day into a full subscription model. Selena will shift slowly, and will convert a traditional way to book a room here and there into a global nomad pass. And that's a game changer. That's a full flexible way of traveling between off the grids to prime urbans, all in one ticket. I love it. I'm excited about it. And pandemic opened our eyes towards that. So
thanks. Chip, same question. Can you, if possible, can you address it with Airbnb? But if you'd rather with MEA, that's fine as well.
Yeah, I had an MEA answer, but I'll go to Airbnb. So the Airbnb, I would say experiences are, Airbnb experiences from a financial perspective were not necessarily perceived on the front end as a huge benefit to the company. But I think what people actually missed is that the idea of creating host-led localized experiences is not just about the revenue. It's actually about creating a deeper relationship with the customer and being able, Airbnb's raison d'etre, I like to use a little French with my European friends there. The raison d'etre for Airbnb was belong anywhere. I think the raison d'etre post-pandemic is going to be a lifestyle curator, and that we can curate our guests' lives in the Airbnb world when we have more information about them, and understanding what a person wants to do in experiences gives you spectacular data about what they might want to do next and where they might want to stay. So Airbnb then moves from being just a home sharing brand to a lifestyle brand.
Very nice. Nico, same question.
Yeah, to be very specific, when I started Kasai 2 years ago, it was very much to build around me. So it was very much to build around the traveler that would hop between, say, New York and Mexico City and San Francisco. And now people are leaving big cities. And so that rendered that kind of passé strategy. And so for us, what was very, very much a result of COVID was our expansion to beaches. So, a few months ago, we launched a brand called Getaways, where now instead of 2-bedroom in Condesa, which is, an important neighborhood in Mexico City, now we have a 6-bedroom villa in Puerto Vallarta, or, a 3-bedroom, small house with a plunge pool in Tulum. And so I was not at all looking at that market pre-pandemic. I was looking at going from tier 1 neighborhood to tier 1 neighborhood and tier 1 city to capital city. And for us, it became very clear that travel was going to come back more slowly. And so we began looking at, where do our existing travelers want us to go? And in fact, the reason that we did that was because our existing travelers said, I'm not going back to Mexico City, but if you have something in Puerto Vallarta, tell me, because I'm going to go. And so we listened to them and did that.
Very nice. Okay, Anastasia, you had time to think of your answer, but I'm going to slightly change the question a little bit for you. Do you see a huge uptick in demand for your services now? Are people more conscious? We keep hearing people are more in tune with their health, more in tune with the world, with nature. They've seen the changes in air quality with less flying and driving. Are you seeing the same thing in terms of food waste, that this is going to spark more interest in your business?
Yeah, that would have been part of my answer, actually. So we did realize now that the pandemic gave people or our potential customers time to rethink their processes. Also, maybe they're forced to save costs a bit more post-pandemic. And so that has definitely increased the demand. And even now we're still in lockdown here in Switzerland, but we actually were surprised when we looked at this quarter and that we've achieved the targets or even more. So that was really good news for us and gave us a lot of optimism to of course, continue. And that is definitely a big part. So when we started in 2017, talking to customers, there was also a lot of education still around the whole food waste, like reducing food waste is important because it helps you save money. Not everyone had that on their radar. And now it's definitely better known, or the awareness is growing for sure for the topic.
Okay, great. I've got a couple more questions from the audience. Let me throw one right at Nico. There's a question about startups that realize there's a technology component. They're going to need an app. They're going to need some software. What's your advice about doing it in-house or hiring it from outside, especially if the founders of the company don't have this ability?
Technology is, I mentioned this before, technology is paramount to scale, especially for us as a decentralized hospitality brand. If we were to ask all of our housekeepers to bring a checklist that, was on a piece of paper to our several hundred units, it just wouldn't work. And in fact, we actually tried to use outside kind of SaaS solutions for a lot of parts of our stack. So we originally had, we worked with a company that was doing specifically smart lock software, and it didn't work. And so for us, we've gone back and forth a lot between thinking about using existing solutions versus building in-house. And we have a very strong bias actually towards using existing solutions. But what we realized is that for our needs and for our scale, in many cases, those solutions didn't work. And so one of my very first hires actually was our CTO, Andres Baez, who had spent 5 years as a machine learning engineer at Google Search, right? And so for us, also to avoid some of the criticisms that WeWork had, which is like it's a real estate company like masquerading as a technology company, we wanted to build technology from the core at the very beginning.
Great. Thanks very much. Okay, last question for all four of you. Comes from the audience. It's a perfect final question. Tell me a misconception about being in the startup world, starting up your own business, that either you had that you realized, oh, this was all wrong, or that you didn't have, but you think people do have, and you want to correct that for them already. Chip, you're nodding. I'm going with you first.
Oh, God. I think the misperception is that it's sexy all the time. It just isn't. I'll leave it at that. I'll just say that it is a getting in the trenches and rolling up your sleeves is really what it means to be an entrepreneur. And when you're going through hell, just keep going. And that's what Winston Churchill said. And I think it's very true for entrepreneurs in a pandemic.
Perfect. Thank you. Rafael.
Chip always choosing what I'm about to say, Chip. I think that, look, you need to, again, I think that being an entrepreneur, I don't think that you choose to be an entrepreneur. It's something that it's either in your blood or it's not. And if it's in your blood, it's great to see it's great to see a successful product that you came up with. But the way to get to that point, way more challenges and corner than you think when you started. So it's very similar to what Chip is saying. But obviously, it's the most incredible things to come up with something and to see it happening. So yes, it's the way there. It's way less sexy than it looks like. But the day that you see people enjoying your product is probably one of the best feelings in the world.
Thanks. Nico, quick answer, same question. Tell me something different.
You've done this to me, so I'm gonna answer a different question, which is a piece of advice that was similar. When I started the entrepreneurial journey, someone told me the highs are never as high as you think they are, and the lows are never as low as you think they are, because a startup is very much a roller coaster, and you will become an insane person if you go on that roller coaster. And I think about that a lot. I modulate my joy and I modulate my anxiety.
Great. Okay, and Anastasia, what's been different in this world of startup than you had expected?
I think we always thought it gets easier the more you have. So initially you have nothing. It's very hard to convince people. You don't have proof of concepts, nothing. And so you think, once I have this, it's going to get a lot easier. And it has proven to not be the case. It doesn't get easier. It gets even maybe harder, or it changes, but it never really gets easier. And you're never really done with your product either. So I think that was learning. Hey
guys, let me just wrap up by mentioning some of the key words I think you guys brought up today, right? Storytelling, it's an adventure. You got to like people. You have to like doing different tasks, multitasking, trying things that you're no good at and ready to fail at. You're never really going to be in your comfort zone because of this roller coaster ride. Spotting trends, right? You all spotted trends and unique opportunities, and that's really the fostered your businesses. resilience and adaptability, right, which applies to all companies, but probably young startups that are struggling to find their place. It's probably even more relevant. And this sense of community and experiences, it's really pervades almost all of what you guys have said. So those are just some key takeaways that I took away, and I'm sure our audience took away much more than that. We packed a lot into our 50 minutes. We're right on time. Let me just say thank you to all of you. It was nice to meet a couple of you. Nice to see Chip. I'm going to bug you again, Chip, to come on my show. Rise and Anastasia, always lovely to see EHL alumni successful. So thanks to all of you for being on this panel. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks,
Thank you
Demian.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much for your participation here at the YHS 2021. It was truly a pleasure to listen to you all about your experiences with being an entrepreneur. So we really thank you for being here, and we were really excited to listen. And I know I have my favorite parts, and Kate as well. So Kate, please, would you like to share your favorite parts?
I would love to. I really like to hear about when Ms. Hofmann, you were talking about how your team and the concept behind your startup started right here at EHL when you were a student here. And I think that sharing that was really important to hear for hospitality students everywhere, because that shows that, you know, the person that we meet for a coffee or the thing that we notice on campus that could be improved a little bit, that could become our next great business success. So thank you so much for sharing that.
You know, and I also really liked how at the beginning, Mr. Conley mentioned that you got to chase trends, how he told his parents that, oh, I see something happening in 2 years, and it ended up happening. I thought that was really important for any inspiring entrepreneur to chase that. So thank you all for participating, and have a great morning, evening, or afternoon.
Thank you so much, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
All right, everybody. Well, with that wonderful panel, day 3 of YHS comes to a close. Today leaves us with so much to think about. Everybody, we want you here at YHS, we want you to take a moment and think about the most inspiring moment for you today that you learned in one of our panels or in one of the sessions or from one of our speakers. Whether that was learning about the blending of technology with the human touch at Four Seasons, or whether that was the purpose of hospitality being revealed in the local panel, or whether that was learning about using conflict to your advantage as you're starting a startup, we challenge you not to let that inspiration slip away. So write down your favorite or most inspirational moment on a sticky note and find some way to apply it, remind yourself of it, and share it with a friend.
Since Monday, we have rethought, resculpted, and rejuvenated our ideas about the hospitality industry, creating a macroscopic view. Whether it was about going global or starting your own startup or having an idea for such a thing, you came here for your future contribution and for your future inspiration. So thank you so much for that. And this is your industry, so take it by the hand and build what you want.
Yes, exactly. So with that, everybody, we are really excited to announce the winners of the YHS mission.
Ooh.
All right. So it was very, very hard for the team of judges to choose a winner, but after a careful selection, they have chosen a winner for the YHS challenge. We would love to thank everybody who participated, and we hope that you learned a lot whether or not you won, because with your plan to create a refurbishment of a hotel, not only did you learn important skills about being a hotel manager, but you also learned important skills for becoming a leader. So thank you to everybody so much for your participation. And the winner is...
Drumroll, please.
All right. As we are waiting for the winner's announcement,
we would like to share a little bit. Just, guys, like we mentioned yesterday, and we like to, a little bit or remind you, don't forget to post on social media. This is a time for us to get involved and to be virtually a family. So don't forget, show us that cup of coffee, show us that cup of tea, even show us the hoodies that you guys got, delegates. It'd be really fun to see everything. So.
And we know that you are all quite busy with making your final changes to your challenges for tomorrow. So we hope that along with posting on social media and along with getting really excited about your YHS mugs, you are also working very, very hard with your team. And I think we are finally ready to announce the winner of the IHG Hotels and Resorts mission.
Drum roll.
Who is it? We're just building the suspense for all of you.
This is exciting, gang.
And here's
they're the winners! Woo!
Congratulations to Team Gen Z Redone. We are so excited to announce that you guys have won after a very careful selection. Like we said, it was very, very difficult for our judge panel to decide who won. So great job, and thank you to everybody for participating. There is something to be learned from this, whether or not you won. But again, congratulations to our winners. You now have 10,000 points with IHG Hotels and Resorts.
Well, congratulations to our delegates, but we are almost there. Everyone, but the journey does not stop here. Tomorrow we will have a discussion much bigger than the future of hospitality. Along with giving the customer what they want, we need to make sure we are giving the environment what it needs. So stick around for tomorrow's big day.
Everybody, tomorrow is going to be a final day of discovery. We will have topics ranging from a reverse zoo concept to teenagers making change to balancing profitability and planet protection. You do not want to miss the interesting speakers and panels that we have lined up for tomorrow. So we will see all of you back here again tomorrow, and we hope you have a lovely rest of your day or night.